like to call the Parks Board meeting November 26, 2018 to order. First off, pledge of allegiance, please. Everybody stand. Move your hats. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any citizens' comments, sir?
No, sir, we do not.
Thank you very much, young fellow. Thank you very much. Under old business, volunteer park. Is that right here? Yeah. Volunteer park phase 2 concession. Oh, approve. Hey, I better approve that, I guess. Okay. Approval of minutes. Mr. Pike, second. Mr. Head, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. First and foremost, we'd love to welcome Mr. Bennett here. We've got a new player, much better looking than I am, and that's all. Most everybody is, though, so that's okay. Under old business, volunteer park phase 2 concession building update, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The volunteer park at Arrowhead concession stand is close to wrapping up. We hope to have the final construction change orders figured out this week. Hope to have all the grading and things around it done within the month. Should be on track for opening in the spring. So we'll have us a $961,000 ribbon cutting next spring.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Questions?
It's a ribbon.
Very nice. Mary's Magical Place Playground, Mr. Lamabry.
He's sitting out there, so we didn't even put his nameplate up here anymore.
Mr. Lamar.
That makes it kind of a real all of a sudden, doesn't it?
It does. You got it now.
Mary's Magical Place, just to update you all, there's still a few things that we're working through as far as finishing touches, kind of like buying a house. We're doing the final trim work at this point, I guess, but just want to let everybody know that it's been packed every day. Even on Thanksgiving Day, it was packed. Cars from out of state. It's been an amazing addition. And I say more so than anybody ever would have dreamed, probably, at this point. It's just an amazing thing for our community. And I really wanted to make the point that we're seeing visitors from out of state, out of county, on a routine basis. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward what comes of that going forward.
With all the extra stuff that we got to put in, it's spectacular. I know that. Questions? Thank you, sir. Beatty Farm property update, Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir. We had the event, preview event last week. Over 500 people came to do nothing but eat hot dogs and ride hay rides and tour the property and go up, hike the hill. It was a great day. We lucked out on the weather. What that did tell us is that there can be events out there. Later on in tonight's meeting, we're going to discuss some things about that. There is a survey online. If you go to the Friends of Indian Lake Peninsula website, I believe it is FOFILP.org. You can take the survey, anybody in the community, to kind of let people know what you'd like to see on that piece of property. And then we have a community meeting coming up this Wednesday night here at City Hall for anyone in the community to come and kind of give your input on the vision for that piece of property as we look to try to make a master plan for it. We're not, can't guarantee things that are going to be on it, but to get grants, we've got to get a master plan going on it. So that's what we're in the process of right now.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Question? Thank you very much. Under new business, Full Court Ministries presentation, Mr. Oldham.
Mr. Oldham is not here, but we do have the baseball director from Full Count Ministries.
Oh, Lord, he has a bat.
Clay Sanders. And Mr. Lamar was also here. I wanted, at their banquet, the Full Count Ministries banquet, some of you were there, but I wanted you all and the people on TV to hear the award that they presented our Parks Department and let you all hear exactly what went on in our park this fall as far as the Full Count Ministries Fall League. So I asked Clay to come and Dave to come, and we need to make sure we turn his microphone on.
The button in front of you, if you'll push that, please.
Right there.
All right, thank you.
Dion? Yeah, I like that.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you letting me have a few minutes here tonight. Jacob was unable to be here. He is the executive director for Full Count Ministries. We're a local ministry, a baseball ministry. We do mission work around the world, and then we also minister locally to high school baseball players. One of our arms of our ministry is our fall league. We run a fall league each year for high school baseball players, grades 9 through 12. And there's not a lot for high school guys in the fall. There's a middle school league here, but then there's nothing for high school age. High school coaches like to see their guys getting some work in, and we saw an opportunity and a way to fill a need there, and so we offered a fall league. This past fall, we had 160 kids playing our league that represented 28 high schools, plus some homeschool kids as well. We actually started the fall league in 2013, and we played approximately a 14-game schedule plus a playoff weekend. And when we started in 2013, we were using local high school fields as well as Drake's Creek. We'd use Field 3 on Saturdays. This year, we were fortunate enough to be able to play all of our games at the park, and it worked out as a tremendous benefit for our league. Created a real sense of environment and community enthusiasm, having all of our families and all of our players at the same place. Dallas and Keith were great scheduling-wise. I was a large thorn in their side, I'm sure. Weather was a little less than balmy, as you can imagine, in the early part of November. So we had several rainouts, several scheduling issues, but they were great. They were so very cooperative, and we really appreciate them. But it was a really good experience being able to play all of our games at the park this year. And as part of in recognition of our relationship and our partnership that we've had with the Parks Department since 2013, the Hendersonville Parks Department was actually awarded the 2018 MVP Most Valuable Partner for our partnership and the willingness of the Parks Department to host us and allow us to use the facilities there at the park. So we just wanted to say thank you and presented this bat. Dave and Andy were able to be at the banquet that we had to receive that official recognition. So thank you very much. Mr. Lorm, you got anything to add?
Yeah, just a couple things. Changing hats here. Back when I went on a mission trip 6 years ago with Full Count to train umpires in Nicaragua, I didn't know what Full Count was all about. And these guys do a great job with the ministry, with kids in the community, and the baseball program. And when they called, when I was interim, and they called to use the baseball complex for both fields, I got with Dallas and Keith, and again, they're very accommodating, and I appreciate that. The board of directors, which I've been on for 2 years, votes on a company or somebody outside that assists their ministry program, whether it's Old Hickory Bat Company or Cindy's Stitches by Cindy. Cindy does all the stitches for free on all the apparel for Full Count Ministry for free. And so they voted on the Hendersonville Parks to get it this year. And of course, I appreciated that because them being in the park and our guys helping them out in the field, being in what they needed to participate. So I appreciate you guys in the Parks Board helping them out, Stephen, and the maintenance guys and Keith and Dallas helping out with getting the game schedule in there. But it's a great ministry for these kids. Like you said, 160 kids from all these counties all over the place. It's a great representation to see them coming into the park and being able to expose our park system to these people all over the place. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Since I'm an old guy, I want to bring up something now that I'll probably forget before the end of the meeting that I've been thinking about all week. Represented up on this board are some of the finest people I've ever known. Some of the best volunteers, some of the most heartfelt people that I've ever known, and I wish that we could take a few minutes for everybody just to say what they have done. But if everybody knew what all of these people did for our parks and mostly for our kids, they would be surprised. So I personally would like to thank every person up here, along with Dave. Without Dave, I wouldn't be here. So I appreciate Dave and all the things that he's done. So, like I said, I'm an old guy. I don't want to bring it up. All right. Anybody want to sing? No? Okay.
Pass the plate.
Station Camp High School softball play day, Mr. Crook.
Yes, sir. How's it going, everyone? I'm requesting 2 dates, March 2nd and March 30th and 31st for Station Camp High School to host a play day and a middle school tournament on March 30th and 31st. 100% of the proceeds go to our softball team, which I'm the head coach of. That's it.
That's it. Questions?
How that happened?
Yes, sir.
And this is a question for Andy. This is the same one like we've been doing.
This would be the first time that I know of that Station Camp has actually come into the park and hosted.
But it's like the
event.
Hendersonville and the beach.
Just like the
Play day.
Hendersonville Play Day, middle school and high school.
Okay.
The dates on the forms in your packet, I think that's my fault actually, because I think I typed those dates in for Mr. Crook, but the dates are what he said just a minute ago is the correct dates, and they work within our staff. We've met. But I'm glad to have them come and do this. I think it's good that we could work them in due to the school park relationship. And
Very nice. Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion, Mr. Pike. Second, Mr. White. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Well, that's quick.
That was fast. Thank you. I
Everybody
got a
did
little
have
back
a big
who's
butt off,
hungry,
I
so that works out good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. ATF Fishing, Mr. Young. We've got a Crook and a Young. I don't know. It's getting a little crazy here. Yeah, really. State your name, please. I'm sorry.
Barry Young, I'm the Director of Tourism for Sumner County. Good to see y'all.
Good to be seen.
First of all, if I may, I would just like to say we have an excellent relationship with the Hendersonville Parks. They've been super to work with, and it's really a pleasure to have events and things in your parks, especially with the staff being so cooperative. We just really appreciate everything y'all do. Andy did ask me to come and speak about actually the AFT. It's American Fishing Trail.
Oh, I was close one. Yeah.
You were close. This is probably the largest tournament we've had in my 7 years here. We hosted it in 2014. It brings about 500 anglers from out of town here for about a week, and most of them will come weeks or months early and practice and try to get to know the lake. So they'll probably make 2 trips here. And the economic impact on a tournament with 500 participants is about $500,000 or more for the 1 week period. It's October the 18th through 23rd, 2020. This is actually in 2020. So I'm just asking permission to hold the tournament there at Saunders Ferry Park. And of course, the tourism office, we have to pay a bid fee, we have to feed them dinner one night, we have to put up a big tent for the tournament, and we have rent golf carts and that kind of thing. But we're just asking to be able to have the tournament and ask the park staff to work with us as they always have to bring it here again. And it'll be a tremendous economic impact on the community. Of course, as you know, they in the paper they all talk about occupancy tax all the time, but actually when visitors come here, they pay sales tax on everything. And as you know, when they spend money in Hendersonville, Hendersonville gets a portion of that sales tax. And obviously with 500 people coming here, they're not all going to stay in a hotel. Some of them may stay at a campground or with a friend. But they've all got to eat. They've all got to put gas in their boats every day. And with that many people, I'm sure somebody will forget something and have to go to Walmart and buy something also. So when that many folks come, like I said, the estimated economic impact is a minimum of $500,000 for the community, and that will really help us all. So I just wanted to ask if we could hold that tournament again, October 18 through 23. And actually, those first couple of days, they have to register, and that's when we feed them dinner. I think the final 3 days of those dates are the actual tournament.
Okay.
And they practice beforehand. So, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Have you gone over it with the staff as far as logistics and everything available? And
Well, haven't gone into great detail since it's still 2 years away, but
Okay.
it's very similar to some of the, we did the Ray Scott tournament last year, which is a very similar type event, and then we also did the Bassmaster Weekend Series, all at Saunders Ferry. So the park staff is pretty well knowledgeable about what we're going to need, but obviously Andy and I just spoke this evening before the meeting that we're going to have to get together and work out all the logistics and make sure everything's covered.
Mr. Chairman, with
Yes, sir.
with this, when Barry, this is pretty recent development that he got this tournament awarded. I wanted to make sure that he was able to tell the AFT people we were good. There's some details we'll have to work out, but I wanted him to get up here in front of you guys, and especially on TV, and explain exactly what the economic impact of these fishing tournaments is. And for it, since it's such a big event and it was 2 years away, we'll come back with the actual event application with all the details. But
That'd be fine.
I wanted to make sure that he had the authority to go to these people and say, we're good, put us on your books, before we lost it to somebody else.
Yes, sir, and also they're actually going to ask me to sign a contract, and before I sign that, on behalf of the county tourism, I wanted to make sure it's going to be okay with you guys, obviously, so.
That'd be fine. That'd be fine. I think we need a motion that, state your motion.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve this with the understanding that you will work out all the details with them and come back with a sheet that we can actually look at.
Okay, sure.
I've got a motion second. Mr. Head, any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
This isn't really for Mr. Young, but several months ago, the same board was approached by a group requesting a date for an event, and it was over a year out, and we deferred because of some existing, or the potential for existing conflict. And I understand we're working within a time constraint here. I just want to make sure we're not setting precedent that it's the first one to come and state claim on a date. The end of October is typically cross-country season. There's going to be a group that wants to probably run a middle school championship or something that same weekend. So I just want to make sure we're not precluding ourselves from getting so far out, because in 2020, when we're looking at logistics, some of these members won't be here. I'm in favor of the event.
Yes,
I just, when we're approving things, I don't want us to put the board in a position where we're approving things 2 and 3 and 4 years out.
It's, at least it's my opinion. I think this is just giving them the opportunity to do it. I think, and I might be speaking out of turn here, but.
Well, with my feeling on it is, this was such a big event, I would say not national, but regional, certainly event, that's not going to come around very often. It would be different if it was a local fishing tournament that was just trying to pop up, but I think sometimes we're going to have to plan that far ahead. But I understand what you're saying about cross-country and things like that.
Well, like I said, I'm in favor of the event.
Right.
And I'll cast a vote in just a second. I think it's important for us to consider, because we're asking Ms. Wise to put something on the books 2 years
Sure.
in advance.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes, sir.
make another comment or two? That's very well taken. I will tell you, in the past, we had a tournament, I don't remember which one it was, Dave, but we had a tournament that had a little conflict with the cross-country, and we worked that out. And actually, the fishing people told me just the other day that these dates are tentative, that they can be moved a few days earlier or later to accommodate us if we need to. So I feel very confident we can work it out, where if the cross-country happens, we can have both events. But
Yes, sir.
Just checking those dates, that's a Sunday through a Friday.
well, like I said, they come in on Sunday, they register, we feed them dinner one night. So I think the actual tournament is going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Okay, actually, that would help, because most of the middle school thing is Sunday afternoons, is when they have theirs, Sunday afternoon. And then we could get with Beach and tell them, work with them to not schedule anything that Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, if that was a date they were looking
But
for.
what they like to do on that Sunday, they come in with their trailer and set it up, and then we have to rent a tent to put out there, and we usually set that up on Monday, and then by Wednesday, everything is set for the tournament to actually start. So, and like I said, they've told me that they can move the dates forward or backward depending on, this far out, we can adjust the dates if there's any kind of a problem.
Is that satisfactory, sir? Very nice. Sir?
Do I need to adjust my motion? We good?
I think we're good. I think we're good. Any more conversation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah, I think what we are worried about is what I would think, and I was just thinking about myself. I always rent a shelter for Memorial Day. And I'm thinking about, wow, maybe I'll just go on and rent that thing for next year too, and maybe the year after that. So I think that's what he's talking about.
Sure, I understand, yeah.
We'll talk about it when time. What do you do with the fish?
They put them back in the lake after.
Don't they catch on to you guys at all? Or, I mean, did they just keep getting caught over and over?
They just getting caught, they're caught over and over, yeah.
God, fish are dumb. All right, sir, thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Have a
Yes,
nice
sir.
evening.
Have a good day. I'm dumb too, though, so that's all right. Durham Farms Parkland Field Construction, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you don't, I guess we need to make a motion to suspend the rules and let Mr. Silkwood speak also. I can't do that, if y'all don't mind doing that.
I'll suspend, so.
Thank you. Bring Mr. Silkwood up here. Over the past few months, there's been a lot of discussion. I know I sent an email to the Parks Board about construction of a couple of fields on a section of the property at Durham Farms. Mr. Silkwood and his group have come before you to be an approved league, but we have not talked about a place for them to play at this point. We've allowed them to practice this fall in the baseball outfields and tried to accommodate there, but they have worked and met with multiple city staff from Public Works to Planning. They have gone out and hired Lowson Associates to do FEMA studies and other things that you have to do to construct things in a floodplain. At this time, I'm comfortable with what they're doing here or proposing to do at this section of land at the Durham Farms property for a few reasons. Number one, because they've gone through the whole process of meeting with all of our Public Works and Planning and come up with what I feel is a pretty solid plan. Number two, the people that they've got lined up to do the work are people that we deal with on a daily basis in our park to do work. And the third thing is they're proposing to do something for us that we probably couldn't do ourselves for at least 5 to 10 years. And that's put fields out on this property that we just got the deed to. To me, that's important because this is supposed to be an active park, and the longer it sits empty, the more I think the neighborhoods around it will feel like that will be nothing there but land to walk around in, and it's supposed to be an active park. All they're asking for tonight is you're not approving a site plan or anything. Nobody is being given property. They're going to come in and do work. We will maintain it just like we do every other park. It's still our property, our asset. Just like when other groups come in and do a lot of work on facilities for us and put a lot of time and money into things, we typically give them the right of first refusal kind of on scheduling when it's their season. When it's not their season, we'll play our other league games there if we can and do different things with it. I'm comfortable with that. I encourage that. I've been a part of that as a high school baseball program. We've put a lot of money into Field 3, and we get to schedule first, and I think that's fair. If other groups want to come in and help us build facilities, I think the more the merrier. That's kind of my explanation. I'll let Mr. Silkwood kind of touch on anything I haven't touched on. I do think it's a good plan. All we're asking for is your all's blessing to recommend this plan it'll go from here to Public Works Committee in December. If approved there, it will go from there to the full Board of Mayor and Aldermen for their approval, and then it will go to the Planning Commission for their approval. So you got a lot of boards and a lot of committees that are going to touch this before any work begins and try to build a consensus among everybody. What I did not want to have happen is us start doing any work and then somebody coming back and saying, why didn't y'all tell us this was going to happen? Okay. So that's where we're at now. If you want to say anything further.
State your name, sir, please.
Brian Silkwood, resident here in Hendersonville. Thank you, Mr. Gilly, and thank you, Parks Board. So a couple of the things, just to recap on what Andy was talking about, the kind of where we are in the process on this. 2 fields, both fields will be irrigated, both fields will be sodded, both fields will be laser graded. We are also planning to probably put in for, I think maybe the first time within the Parks Department, we were planning on drilling a well and putting a pump. So you guys will not have water bills. As an example, just the 2 fields there at Arrowhead Park, just for the months of April, May, June, July, and August, those 5 months, the total water bill to irrigate just those both fields was $4,661. So we're planning on putting in a well with a pump that will fully irrigate the fields for all water. It'll be a little bit of a electricity bill there, but I think that electricity bill and a little 3 horsepower pump will come a lot less than $4,600, over that span. We also have a gravel parking lot, and then all the major site work as far as getting the dirt and everything moved around. Our funding continues, or our fundraising continues. We're now approaching and trying to get into putting actual sports lighting in. That's a pretty extremely high cost to put in, but that's where we are in this stage as far as the process and what we've had in-kind donations and kind of where we are monetarily fundraising at this point. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Question?
One thing that as we're talking about the construction and that kind of thing, has there been any discussions about some kind of building, restroom facility? Is there anything like that?
Yes.
On site?
The actual master plan for the site is going to have an inclusion for a building for restrooms and maybe storage, but that would be part of a future phase. We're afraid at this point, due to the fundraising activities, I guess from our side, the lights I think are really important, and we would rather in the beginning maybe have to pay for porta potties or something like that to be out there when we're in season. The lights are kind of one of the main reasons that we're trying to get the field in place. Having access to the lighted fields for games and practices is a huge part of what we're trying to do. But it is part of the future plan that we hope to get to at some point, after the fields are built.
Any other questions? I personally think it's a win-win, especially if they're looking, in my opinion, for our blessing. I think we should do that. I mean, that's my opinion, and I think the other boards are going to do the same. I think if there's any catch in this, I believe it'll be found down the way somewhere. So I would, if I had a vote, I believe I would do that. So I'll call for a motion. Mr. Frank, second. Mr. Pike, any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to this because I watched a little bit of rugby on TV the other night, and I thought somebody was going to die. So, I mean,
Great. That's great.
I mean, I think I asked you the last time.
That wasn't the warm welcome I was hoping was going to come out of your mouth, but
If you'll notice, the last page in the packet is their
Yeah.
insurance.
You guys might want to think about kind of coming up with some rules for it.
we look forward to coming from the board and explaining the full aspects of the games and inviting you guys out. I think it's a sport. I think America, as it grows and people become more used to seeing it, I think it's a sport that a lot of Americans are going to love. So.
Mr. Pike told me he would like to play on the team.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
They're putting a very good product on the field as well.
I think so, yes, sir.
Very quality.
Thank you very much. Thank you. December Parks Board meeting, Mr. Gilly.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Typically, I think in the past, the December meeting might have been canceled sometimes. One of the things the mayor asked when he hired me was that I do everything possible to make sure that the Parks Board does meet monthly. And I can tell you for a fact that we will have things that we need to discuss in December.
Yeah.
The fourth Monday in December right now is on Christmas Eve. As much as I like you all, I'd rather not be here on Christmas Eve. If it would be possible to, I mean, we can if you want. I'm all for it. If we could move, maybe
Hey,
perhaps.
I'm working that night.
I'm sure, yeah, you are.
What are you talking?
If we could give maybe December 17th a try, I don't know if that works for everybody. That's the Monday before.
Can we make a motion to move it to the 17th?
I can't, you can.
Well, then I'll make a motion, we move it to the 17th in place of the 24th.
Have a motion, Mr. Head, second, Mr. Pike. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Well, doggone, that was easy. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Ad hoc committee, Mr. Gilly,
Ad hoc or Wall of Fame, which one you want to do first?
whichever one you want to do.
Let's do the Wall of Fame subcommittee
Go
first.
ahead, that's fine.
We have opened up the nominations again for the Wall of Fame. It's been a couple years since we've done that. Did Andrea step out? We've started to advertise those. We've already had some submitted. I encourage you all as a board to submit nominations. We have 3 categories for those. One is active service, one is inactive service, and one is our golden service, which is for someone who is deceased and not with us. Once we get the nominations and see how many we have, we may have to come back to the Parks Board and form a subcommittee to select them. We'll let you all know that. I don't want to put Andrea on the spot since she.
I'll go ahead.
Is there? The nominations can be sent. I want to say this publicly. They can be sent to Andrea at her email address, which is awise@hvilletn.org. Is there anything you want to add to the Wall of Fame?
I did put it on Facebook to inform the public that we are currently accepting applications. And I believe we have about 4 to 5 nominations already. So they are coming in slowly but surely.
How long are you accepting nominations?
To the end of the year, and if needed, we will push it back.
One of the other things we discussed as a staff is to, when we have the induction ceremony, was to kind of upgrade that ceremony a little bit. We've talked about even having a dinner, perhaps, with invite the families of the recipients. Something a little more than just presenting it right before a Parks Board meeting, I think would be appropriate. Is there any other questions, comments? Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm not allowed to say yes, sir.
Mr. Frank?
Yeah, just a question. I know the answer to it, but I'm not sure many people do. And if we're relying on the public to submit nominations, first of all, just publicly, is there a current Wall of Fame, or is this a new initiative?
There is a current Wall of Fame. All the members are listed in our Parks office with their picture on the wall. We're going to work on getting a section of our website updated with all the names on it and a list of the categories, exactly what they are for. Active is for volunteers that have been active currently and provided a lot of value to our park. Inactive is for those that have volunteered in the past, and then the golden service obviously is both categories but a deceased person. But Dallas, when he gets time, will update our website with those categories and the list of the names of the people that are already in it.
I think that's important. So if
Yeah.
you're considering a nomination, you want to kind
Sure.
of measure your nomination against, somebody that's.
Long term, I would like to see us do something at the park to create the actual Wall of Fame at the park where people can see, because unless you come in our parks office, you don't see the pictures. And one of them's mine, so I would like for it to be seen, obviously,
So,
if possible.
May I ask another question?
Why?
I got another question. On your 3 categories, they're all volunteer, volunteer, volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an exception if there was maybe a past employee that would be a worthy nominee?
We currently do not have an exact category for paid employees. We've had a couple of employees that maybe did both that got put on there, but I think that would be a worthy category to add to it. If I can't do that, but
I can think of one.
Are you making that motion, Darren?
If it's open for a motion,
I would open it for a motion.
all right, I'd like to make a motion then that nominations include the category for those who would be non-volunteers, and I'm not sure how you want, how detailed you want to get with that.
Well, you can say that any parks employee that we've had, whether it be
Okay.
office staff, a maintenance staff, a scorekeeper, gym supervisor, summer camp worker, we've got all kinds of paid employees that
Okay.
could at some point fit into that category. And we can, officials, I mean, we could include a lot in that. And we can update the application too when we put it online.
I think the term service is probably more important than volunteer.
Whether you're paid or not.
All right.
Yes, indeed.
Do I need to restate that?
Restate that, if you don't mind.
What did I say, Nate? I make a motion that we add a category to the nominees to include employees for their service.
Yes,
I'll second
of the
that.
Parks Department.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Frank, second, Mr. Stewart? I mean, Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry, I'll get you in a minute, don't worry about that. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, thank you. By the way, Mr. Bennett, it took me 3 years to remember his name, so don't worry about that. All right, the reason I got that ad hoc out of shape was I wanted to hear about this ad hoc committee, I really do.
Well, we have, in your packet, we have a list of subcommittees that we never really use a lot, but we need to make sure we've got them in case we do use them. We've got an athletic committee, which is currently our staff, Keith Bruce, Dallas Long, and then Mr. Head, Mr. Frank, and Mr. Richards. And then we've got a recreation committee, Ms. Hamblin, and then under board members, the only one we've got on there right now is Mr. Hessen. So we need to add a couple of that. And then maintenance committee, we've got Stephen Russell, and then P.A. Bowler, Mike Pike, and Nathan White. Since we're still a person short, it would look like Mr. Bennett might fall into the recreation committee if you all wanted to put him there.
We just did, I think.
And then whoever the lucky person is to come next, we can fill them in too.
With all due respect, who do we got left?
That's it.
Who's not on the committee? Okay.
That's it. We have an open seat.
We have an open seat.
Right.
That makes sense. Okay. Well, then that is so moved then that Mr. Bennett is on the Recreation Committee with me. Boy, what a joy. You'll learn to hate that. All righty. Does that solve that, sir?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Fees for Beatty Farm property for events, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you. We have discussed this as a staff. We feel like we want to try to get ahead of the game on this because we are already getting requests to use the property. The next thing on your agenda is a request that's probably going to be at that property. And kind of in talking to those folks and kind of just looking at the scheme of things, we think we're going to get events. We think people are going to request to have weddings. There's no telling. What the inflatable race, which is next on your list, said they typically do when they rent out a whole park like the Beatty Park, which doesn't have shelters on it, is that they would pay to rent the whole park and the fee for all the shelters for the day. Which if you just look at Saunders Ferry, if you kind of add that up, that would total up to about $1,000. So that's kind of where we came from for just the property for the day. If they wanted service like extra maintenance, traffic control, the fire department, things like that, that would be extra. But what we're talking about is setting a fee, which you all have the power to do, for just someone to rent out the city-owned portion of the Beatty property for an event. Now, you can discuss that all you want, but we felt like that was something that we needed to have an answer for when people started calling. The event we had last week proved that you can park about 400 cars and have a lot of people on the property, and it worked out pretty well. And I think once people saw that, you're going to start seeing more and more people ask to do. I know myself, I've answered 4 phone calls about weddings already and told them we weren't ready to do that. We'll see how that goes going forward. But
What would we base our fee on?
That's what I was kind of explaining.
Yeah.
When we talked to the folks with the inflatable race, which is next on the list, we asked them kind of what they pay at other places.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to.
And their answer was if a place like Saunders Ferry had a lot of shelters, they didn't want somebody to come in and rent a shelter while they had this whole park tied up. So what they would do would be to pay the fee for the entire shelter rentals for that day. And if you kind of compare Saunders Ferry's open area to the Beatty Farm open area, you're kind of looking at $1,000 if we had shelters, which we don't yet, but that could change. But that was kind of our way of thinking on that. Two similar open spaces where you could have access to the whole park.
I want to open that to discussion. Yes, sir.
But we don't have shelters,
We don't.
right? You know, we certainly want to cover costs to the city. But I don't know that I'm personally comfortable coming up with a number without seeing how it compares to some of the, our other facilities and then comparable facilities outside the area. Is that something you guys could bring to us at another?
That's kind of what I was, I mean, I know what you said. That's kind of what I shouldn't be, y'all should be. Go ahead, Mr. Ed.
Can you go and research this against other communities such as Franklin, Gallatin, Gouldsville, what their fee structure is, or if they even have anything like this?
We can.
And then bring that back? Because I'd hate to sit here and say, this is the fee we want to set today, and then we set a fee that is too high, and then people don't use it, or we set a
too
fee
low.
that's too low, and then we're not getting what we should compared to the value of where it is in other communities.
I certainly don't want to cheat anybody. I mean, I don't want to, I'm going to shut up. Y'all go ahead.
We can do that. I don't know that we're going to find any place that's just a piece of grass that is allowing events like this. You know what I mean? Right now, most places are going to have facilities in place and things like that. So I don't know that we're going to be able to compare apples to apples, but we can do the best we can, obviously.
Andy, as far as Goodlettsville and Moss Wright is concerned, they don't have a fee rental for the entire park like what Andy's talking about, but they do have a general green space rental, and the fee's based on certain sections of Moss Wright Park, but they don't have a fee for like all of Moss Wright Park. So that's, I mean, I guess, yeah, like he said, it won't be apples to apples in that regards.
And do we know what those fees are?
I can get it. It's been a few years, so I can't remember, but it's based off the size of each general green space in Moss Wright Park. So, I mean, it's based off the hour as well. So it wouldn't be for, I don't know, like a smaller section might be $75. One of the bigger sections of Moss Wright Park might be like $200. So it's really based on the size.
Yes, sir.
I'd have to go back and pull those numbers though with what Moss Wright has.
So you said it was based on an hourly fee per area?
Yeah, from what I can remember, I think it is based on hour. You can do hourly, or you can do like a half day or a full day.
Because if say that's the case, then would you structure a fee that says, hey, you can rent this spot of land for, would you break that up? Or would you rent the whole property? Would you do sections? Would you do it by the hour? There's a lot when
Right
we get into
now,
naming.
right now, we're trying to put a fee for the entire property for a day. Honestly, because we've got an event that wants to come there. That's a pretty significant event, and we need to be able to tell them what we'll take for it. Now, we could set that now and change it based on what we learn, as long as we make sure we notify the event, hey, this could change in a month once we do a little more research, but I really don't want to do that to them. We could do it to anybody else after the fact that comes with a different event. We were just basing, when this event that we're talking about, I felt it was important to put the fee in place before we approve the event. So what we talked about, that when they first called us, they talked about renting out all of Saunders Ferry Park. So we tried to get a comparable, what would it cost if they rented all of Saunders Ferry Park but we had it over here at the Beatty Farm, which is a lot better location that they didn't even know about, because it doesn't involve boat docks that would need to be shut down and pathways and all that stuff. So we're trying to get a fee. Maybe we just set a fee for this one event we're about to approve, and then worry about the next step later. I don't know, just thinking off the top of my head.
So we could do a temporary fee for this, set this fee now. This is a temporary fee to rent the property at Beatty Farm while research went on. So if I made a motion that said the fee would be $1,000 to rent the property for a day, and with further research to do to come up with a more permanent fee structure, would that suffice as a motion for now?
Sounds good to me.
Is that, oh, let me, if I can, maybe I shouldn't do this, jump ahead a little bit. The people that are in favor of the inflatable race, you did say was on that property?
Correct.
Do they have any idea what they're going to pay?
They're used to renting out, when they go to all these other cities throughout the nation, they're used to renting out every shelter or every facility that's on a piece of property,
Okay.
so that they can have it. So yes, they're very well aware of what it would cost.
Okay.
So, okay, go ahead.
I'm just curious, as this is all kind of rambling around in my head, that we were just talking about a fishing tournament down at Sanders Ferry.
Mm-hmm.
But the fishing tournaments don't normally take up the entire Sanders Ferry Park.
Correct.
You still have shelters that could be rented aside from the fishing tournament. That's not affected there. We were talking about the possibility of a cross-country issue, not being able to go on at the same time. But we're still not looking at a fishing tournament taking up all of Sanders Ferry.
Then I understand what Andy's saying.
I do too. And the other thing is, there's nothing, I mean, we have changed fee structures throughout the years, as well as we get more information and determine that either we are too high or too low, or we need to adjust something. So even if we set a rate tonight, we're not locking ourselves into
Right.
that forever.
Right.
We're just establishing something with the information we have right now to move forward with possible events. We could come back and reevaluate
Yes,
it.
indeed.
For future events, I think whatever we approve tonight is going to lock in the events we approve at that rate.
Yeah.
But then we may come back and see that it does need to be adjusted one way or the other.
Yeah, this is a brand, I mean, thank goodness, this and volunteer is a brand-new situation for us anyway. So, Ms. Ted, did you want to make a motion, sir?
So, yeah, I'll make a motion that we set the fee for the property at Beatty property at $1,000 for right now for all-day use for the entire property, while they research it further to come up with a better fee structure at a later time.
Very good. Have a motion second. Mr. White, any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Gilly.
Mm-hmm.
Inflatable race, Ms. Wise, I cannot wait for this.
All right, I'm going to try my best to speak on behalf of this event organizer. They cannot be here tonight because they are based out of Ogden, Utah. I'm not sure if you've all heard of the inflatable race. Apparently, this is a nationwide event. They've been to Memphis. They've been all over the country. And when she reached out to me a couple weeks ago, she said, we want to bring this event to Nashville. I've kind of researched parks around Nashville, and I really, felt your parks was the best fit for us. So we've kind of been in contact with each other the past couple of weeks. They originally wanted to do it at Memorial Park, which we felt wasn't the best place to have this. And then they were kind of thinking Sanders Ferry, but then with the parking, and then somebody came up with the idea of Beatty Farm. And we, like we said, brought this to their attention. This is the map that they've kind of designed of how the race would go. It's about I don't have the application in front of me. I didn't make enough copies, but I think it said, a 2-mile race. And they have an inflatable at the beginning. They have them placed throughout, and then they have one at the very end. And I think when we talked to her last week, it kind of goes sporadic. There's like a heap at 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11. They're expecting about 1,000 participants, with the maximum of 500 at any given time. They're going to provide parking, traffic control. They're going to have vendors. They're charging about I think the early bird registration fee is $20 a person. And then after the deadline, it's $60. They're not certain of a date yet. It just depends on the venue. And we're kind of encouraging them to go with the Beatty Farm property. So that's where things stand at this time.
Mr. Chairman, one thing that said on here on the handout for the application under charity, it says looking for a local nonprofit. When we talked about, I talked to Ms. Britton on the application today and let her know that when we have outside groups come in that host tournaments or events like this that are making money, we expect them to partner up with a local charity. And we said if they were to use the Beatty Farm, that we'd ask them to partner up with the Friends of Indian Lake 501c3 and put the money back towards the development of the park. And she was very agreeable to that, and she said they try to find a nonprofit in every city that they go to do that. I don't know the exact proportion. That would be yet to be determined, but that is definitely something she immediately agreed with.
Questions?
I see we have medical assistance on there, but how is the insurance going to be handled? Is there going to be, are they
We
bringing
would treat them
insurance
like
with
any
them?
other event
Okay.
where what they name the city as a secondary insured, just like anybody else.
We don't need Mr. Hessen trying to run that and blowing our knee out, so.
And for those watching at home or online or wherever, the great inflablerace.com is where you look to kind of get information and see all the cities that have had this. I think it'd be a neat event to bring here.
Yes, sir. This is probably I should probably already know. Has there been an event held at this property?
The only event that we've had was last weekend, was the first one with the preview day.
Okay.
Where we had this set up on this map that they provided is exactly where the parking was. The hay rides went all the way around this whole property, just like they've got drawn out. So I don't.
The reason I'm asking that, this being such a new thing, I wonder what the people on East Drive and Indian Lake are going to think about when you say 400 cars parked out there.
Well,
I mean, it won't be any different than Saunders Ferry.
I think they would rather have 400 cars on a Saturday than 190 houses that they were going to get. I think they'll be okay with it.
I'll shut up. Ask one question. I'm not over this question. Go ahead.
One question, Andy.
Smart aleck.
With that being out there, how did the present, how did the parking and everything work around the house that's out there?
The house where the fire department admin office is kind of separated by a driveway and a fence row. The park, there's a second entrance that you can kind of see on your map. There's a second entrance that goes in where the parking is that leads straight to the barn. There's a gravel drive. So people came in that entrance, parked there, and then they were able to go out as well right there. It worked out pretty well. And there's a couple of other entrances and exits that we can kind of look at over time that we use for there's one on Stewart Drive there actually that the hay rides went out where they didn't have to feed out onto Main Street. So that worked out all right too. But it worked out pretty well the other day, enough where I'm encouraged that we could do other things there.
And since we have set this fee, are they acceptable to that?
They will be amicable to that, yes, sir.
Big word.
I know. Sorry. They'll be fine with it. How about that?
They worked here all these years, and he never said anything as smart as what you said. I'm telling you. That was great.
We wake him up.
We had to wake him up out there.
Sounds like going to win.
You can sign up.
I like it. I'll accept a motion to approve this. Mr. Pike? Oh, you have a question, Mrs. Frank?
Did we determine a date?
Oh, I guess I'm still on. If it was at Memorial Park, they wanted the 25th, but since we're kind of swaying them to go to Beatty Farm, they want to do May 11th or May 18th.
Mr. Frank?
As the school representative, I think that May 11th would be the better of the two dates, because May 18th is going to be about 3 graduations and parties and people coming in town. And if you want local folks to participate, you do not need to get in the way of a grandmama and her baby walking across the stage.
Very nice. Did I get a motion?
Apparently, I was just informed that May 11th is Mother's Day weekend. I don't know if that's going to
Then
affect
the mothers
anything.
could run.
Mother-daughter duo.
Cindy, all right?
Yeah.
I'll accept a motion to approve this under the certain circumstances here.
I have one question, and I'm not opposed to this at all, and just out of curiosity, they obviously have not been here. They're looking at a map, and they've done a layout here. If you've been out on that property, it's not as flat as it looks. And I would assume that they're not going to find anything that's completely flat anywhere they've been, but there is some pretty serious undulations in the property out there that they would probably need to
just
be made
add
aware
to
of.
it, wouldn't it? I think.
They seem to be okay with that, and understand it's not a actual farm, but
Very good. Motion to, I'll accept the motion. Mr. Spike?
I'll make a motion that we accept this based on you getting a date solidified that works, taking in consideration what we've come up with the dates.
I should have that hopefully tomorrow after tonight, once it gets approved, if it gets approved.
Okay, that's my motion.
I have a motion. Do I get a second? Mr. Head? Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, Ms. Wise. You were very wise. All right, under staff reports, recreation, Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. Raptors special need basketball is, signups are going on now. They can go online and get registered, or they can come into the office. Our season will run in January and February. We usually play on Friday evenings and Saturday mornings, but this year we'll be moving to Whitten Elementary instead of Station Camp Elementary due to lack of a facility. And then Lunch with Santa is this Saturday, December 1st. Civitan is co-sponsoring this event with us. This year there will be no charge. It will be at Whitten Elementary. You will get to visit with Santa and have pizza and a drink. Everyone does have to be registered, and as of this moment, all of Session 1 is taken. So 10:30 to 11:45 is completely booked. Session 2 does have some openings. That is from 12:30 to, I think, 1:45, something like that. Registration continues till Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, but I want to make sure that the public knows we will not take any walk-ups on that day. They have to be pre-registered, so that if they want to attend, they need to come in, go ahead and get registered or come into the office. Even though there's not a fee, we need to know how many people are attending. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Hamlin. I'll try to help you out with that other thing we talked about, too.
All right, we'll have a discussion later.
Yeah, the girl. Special Events Program Supervisor, Ms. Wise.
We had our trick-or-treat event on October 30th. We had around 5,000 people. We had twice as many vendors as last year, so we are expecting this to be even bigger next year. It was a huge hit this year. The only other thing I have is continuing with the Facebook promotion. I'm not sure if you saw on Facebook, but we did have a winner in October for the $50 gift card to Chop House. That was Caroline Brownlee. For this month, the winner is Culver's, and whoever wins gets the free pint of ice cream each month for a year. And then December is Wendy's, and they are giving out free hamburgers each month for a year. So make sure you are checking into Facebook on our Facebook page and use the hashtag Hendersonville Parks when you're eating at these establishments. And that's all I have.
The ice cream again? Go, boy.
No one has done it yet, so it's still up
Pike's already
for
jumping
winter.
up and down. Thank you. Maintenance Supervisor, Mr. Russell. Russell? Thank you.
Russell. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've started working on some of our winter projects. We're currently painting all of the wooden benches at the tennis courts and replacing any boards that are needed. We're also winterizing our irrigation, drinking fountains, and the restrooms that we have that are not heated. And we've also been sanding and painting the grills at all of our shelter locations. Our staff's been involved with a couple of events, one of them being the Beatty Farm preview that Andy was talking about. Our staff had a pretty big deal in this one. We helped with the setup, the prep. We did the hay rides. We also had to do some work on the wooded side of the property to the road to get the spectators to the top. We hung all the Christmas lights at Memorial Park in preparation for the tree lighting event. And this year we will have a float in the Christmas parade.
Oh, yeah.
And one of our longtime park employees that's still currently with us part-time in the summer, Mr. Donnie Osell, will be decked out in his Elvis gear. So I hope all of you come, because when he hits Main Street and he's singing Blue Christmas, it's going to be nice. So.
It's going to be nice.
Yeah. And hey, if any park board members want to come, feel free. We've got Christmas Santa hats. We'll have some candy. We'll put you on the trailer, the truck, get you a golf cart, whatever you want. So appreciate it. Thank you.
The mental pictures I'm having are troubling. Any question? Thank you, Mr. Long. Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce?
You want to go with Mr. Long?
Well, I don't like him. No. I don't mark you off. You can't talk now. Mr. Long, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I've been drinking.
Full Count Baseball League finished up last week, as Clay Sanders talked earlier tonight. I think that was a great season, other than a few rainouts. I think they really enjoyed playing the park this year. Rec Soccer is also finished up for the year. Tennessee United, they still have a few teams practicing through the end of next week. They had some teams qualify for some tournaments this winter, so they're out there until next Thursday. High school and adult basketball games have started earlier this month. We have 27 total teams in the high school and adult leagues. The adult co-ed volleyball registration started last week, and they will run through December 16th. So we're looking for a Parks Board team, so I'll let you head that up, Ken. Good. And we are still in the process of adding our shelter reservations online. We go through one more training next week, and then we plan to roll that out January 1st. So we're looking forward to getting that up and going.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Question? I do like you, by the way. Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce, I can't wait to hear the kickball update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to be here. Couple things still going on. Lacrosse is still practicing in the cold weather. They pretty much go year-round, and we're practicing about everything. Hockey's the same way. They're still practicing a little bit. Got a few all-star teams going on. The big thing we're at now is the youth basketball. Signs are completed. We had 135 teams, 1st to 12th graders. I believe Mr. Pike is being an assistant coach this year to Miss Sinyard, so expecting a lot of good things from that well-coached team in the upcoming season. Uniforms are being picked up this week. Games for the 1st to 9th graders start Saturday, so it will be a very big day on Saturday going forward. So game schedules are done. Start December 1st. We'll play 3 Saturdays. Then we'll take a couple weeks off, then come back full force in January. Kickball update. Kickball is finished for the year. Had a little upset in the finals. Team got beat. They had been won the last 3 or 4 seasons. Actually, more than that. Got a little upset there, so that was a good thing. And Jeremiah could be a good addition, some new young blood to the staff kickball team, possibly. So, thank you, sir.
That's a no from down there. Question? Interim Parks Director, Mr. Lamar, do you have anything to add? You're shaking your head. I'm thinking that's a no. Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to echo your welcome to Mr. Bennett to our board. I want to thank the mayor for appointing him. He's going to be a good addition, lifelong friend and lifelong participant in our park system, and I think you guys are going to enjoy everything he said tonight. Has been great so far. Kind of like when I sat in that very seat, I think, actually. Have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? Update on the lightning strike. Stephen can add anything. We had a lightning strike in the park. Anything I leave out, Stephen, if you correct me, but we're waiting on codes to come and release the final electrical panel box to be inspected by NES so we can get our final 3 soccer fields lit that we still need to have lit. The irrigation, I believe, is now running. Is that correct?
Yes, everything's back up and running.
It got running right in time for us to winterize it, but luckily it happened when it happened, and we had rain to go with it, and it will end up being an insurance claim. But to go with that, just to let you all know, we're going to be meeting this week with a company out of Brentwood that does lightning detection systems for the PGA Tour, for parks, for several things, golf courses all over. And hopefully we can come up with a way to better identify when lightning is close, other than everybody just yelling at each other to get off the fields, because that's where we're at right now. I mean, soccer will come off and baseball's still playing, or baseball leaves and the park's empty and soccer's still playing. Nobody knows when to come and go. And hopefully this is going to be something we can get approved and get added to our park system where it's a good thing. They have it at Micro's Soccer Complex in Memphis. Bluegrass Country Club is looking at putting one in themselves, so we'll keep you updated on that. They're still in negotiations on the cell tower addition to the park that will improve communication. Right now, I talked with Mr. Bradley today. They're going back and forth with communication between the lawyers on language in the contract to try to get a template for our city to have in case cell towers want to get added. You all know that use the park a lot. It's just not conducive to even calling sometimes. So hopefully we can get that taken care of. Also want to let everybody know that we have met with NES at the Memorial Park, and we're looking at adding security lighting to the parking lots and the loop around there. That's greatly needed. Again, Stephen, you update me on anything on that I leave out. Right now we're just waiting on an estimate from NES, if I'm correct.
That is correct. That is correct.
Once we get that estimate, that'll be something that I think everybody that uses Memorial Park and Kids Kingdom and Lacrosse parking lot will be happy about, because we need security lighting badly there. Next thing, December 8th, our Parks Department is helping co-sponsor an event to raise presents and funds for the Santa Cop program at Bluegrass Bar and Grill, 6 to 9 p.m. If you want to come by, anybody that brings an unwrapped toy or donation will be entered to win a door prize that evening. You have to buy your own food, unfortunately. But it was a good event last year that I was a part of, and wanted our department to kind of get on board sponsoring this year to help our police department out as well. Last thing, I need to make sure we publicly thank once again. We went from 500 lights to around 10,000 at Memorial Park. With the tree lighting, it turned out great. It's going to be a constant maintenance issue for the next month for our guys, with snowmen flying around and decorations. But I think everybody appreciated their efforts, and I want to publicly thank Lowe's of Hendersonville and Mr. and Mrs. Dwayne Allen and Southern Breeze Staging and the HHS Dugout Club, because those 4 people made that possible. We had to, as a department, we spent less than $1,000 on those extra lights, and it's probably a total of about $5,000 worth of new stuff in the park. So that was a big help, and hopefully we can continue to improve it going forward. Our guys were proud to put it up. So that is my update for now.
Can we get an update on Mr. Crandall, by the way?
Mr. Chick Crandall is at home and doing much, much better. He's got some follow-up appointments, but as he's able to get out and drive and go to those, and we're very thankful for everyone's prayers, and he came out way better than we thought for now, so luckily he's doing a lot better.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Questions? That's great. On the round table, Ms. Ted?
Just like to say again, the Halloween event in the park, it's unreal how big it is, and looking forward to next year already. So it was a blast. I think we should dress up, though. All of us should dress up in outfits.
Mr. White?
I have a couple of questions or things that I want to go back to the Wall of Fame for just a minute. The one thing on here that it mentions, it says Wall of Fame Subcommittee. And I think in the past, we have put a subcommittee together to review applications. And I didn't know, I don't think we did a subcommittee there, or if we even are planning on doing that this year.
That would be my full intention, once we get all the nominations, is to put at the January meeting, put a subcommittee together, review them, and then have the installation in March, probably.
Okay.
I think it's very important that somebody besides our staff picks it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the other thing is, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are deserving. I would encourage anybody that wants to please submit nominees for that, because there are a ton of people that deserve it every year. With all the volunteers we have out there, as Mr. Hessen said, there's a lot of people that serve behind the scenes. With that being said, I would like to make a motion and something that we discuss that I think would honor somebody that is very deserving. I would like to make a motion that we name the Wall of Fame the David J. Lamar Parks and Recreation's Wall of Fame. That would be a honor to somebody that is very deserving, that has put a lifetime into this park and everything that goes. And I think that would be a very deserving honor for Mr. Lamar.
Thank you, Mr. White. Second, Ms. Him. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Boy, if anybody deserves it, he sure enough does, I can tell you that.
Definitely does.
Surely does. Sure. Mr. Frank? Mr. Bennett?
I'm good for right now.
Well, that's great.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. You're better looking than Campbell. That's all it is. Mr. Frank?
I'm good. I'm good.
Mr. Bowler?
Nothing for me.
My wife and I have been going through some struggles here lately, and in watching people around us, I noticed that there are a lot of hurting people and a lot of sad people. So this coming holiday, if we can say something nice to somebody or pat somebody on the back or be nice to them, would be kind of nice, I think. So motion to adjourn, Mr. Pike. Second, Mr. Head. All in favor? Aye. Get Scott out of here.